Hello and welcome to this quick afternoon stimulus check update video. In today's episode, we got a lot to cover. There's news from the IRS press bulletin that came out just yesterday evening. There's some important notes on the Get My Payment stimulus check tool, some paycheck protection updates, and some EIDL funding news. Now, I don't tend to cover the same issue twice on my videos unless there's some pertinent news on one of the areas. So be sure to watch the entire video because I get a lot of comments asking questions that are answered in the video, and I do my best to answer as many comments as possible, but it's simply not always feasible. And also, please consider subscribing to the channel. I know personally for me, it takes a lot for me to subscribe to a new channel. Like, what if you subscribe and then I just post some absolute garbage next week? I get it. You know, it's a commitment. So for those of you who are subscribed, you are my people. I appreciate you, and let's get on with it. From the IRS press bulletin today, there's a special note for people who are required to file a tax return in 2019 but have not yet. Do not use the non-filers tool, the enter payment information here option. That is not for you. Using this option could slow the processing for your tax return and your economic impact payment. People required to file for 2019 can use the free file options on the IRS site. So the IRS is promoting this free filing service on its site for anyone whose income is under $69,000 last year. You're eligible for this free software, and there's some fillable forms and things like that. You can go on IRS.gov/freefile to access that if you still need a file for 2019. And in EIDL grant news, as of today, April 17th, just 5.9% of businesses who have applied for the EIDL grant have actually received funding. That seems like basically nothing, but that is up from just 3% yesterday. And that is from a poll of 16,000 businesses from COVIDLoanTracker.com. More and more of these businesses are reporting ghost payments as well. I keep getting reports of this. Basically, a ghost payment is where you just all of a sudden receive funding in your account from the SBA and you have no idea, where it came from because they didn't contact you whatsoever, no emails, no calls, no communication whatsoever. It seems like almost close to half the people who are receiving payments from the SBA are receiving these ghost payments where there's no recognition before, no contact, nothing beforehand. So you might be in a group, if you haven't checked your account, you might be in the group where you receive funding and not even know it yet. So check your business accounts if you applied for that because you might have actually received funding. And check back like a week because people have been reporting this for over a week now. I still have yet to see any indication of guidelines of what proof is required to have this grant totally forgiven. Now, I know I've mentioned this before, but it may be a situation where it's simply there's too many people applying and it's not feasible for the SBA to go back and check, literally millions of accounts and, profit and loss sheets and things like that. Because all these loans are directly coming from the SBA, it's not like the Paycheck Protection Program where they're using, thousands of banks across the country to do the back end work for it. This is literally all the SBA and they're already overextended. So that might be the case. If you have any information on this, please send it my way because it seems really weird that there would be no proof factor afterwards. There seems to be no 8-week period like there is for the Paycheck Protection Program. So I'm digging and digging for that, but I've yet to find anything, really explaining it. Also from the IRS bulletin today, there was another be aware of scams notice. Scammers are using this stimulus check payment and making fake fillable forms to try and trick individuals to put their sensitive information in there, especially those people who are filling in their information on the legit Get My Payment tool, getting kicked out, and then trying to search around elsewhere to get information. Be sure to only put in your information on sites that end in .gov, specifically IRS.gov. No other site will be legitimate. Just make sure they put this out there for a reason. So some more important notes. If you owed taxes in 2018 or 2019, you may have to add bank information onto the Get My Payment tool on the IRS website. This is because the IRS likely does not have your proper direct deposit information. A friend of mine told me this yesterday. He said that he owed taxes for 2019 but got paid a refund on 2018 and they still didn't have his correct bank information on the Get My Payment tool. So it's important that you check. Also, if you've recently changed bank accounts, you'll have to update your information on the Get My Payment tool. Even if you change bank accounts in the last like 2 years, I would recommend just going and double checking that it's the right bank account, because there's a lot of issues here. Or if there's any other reason you can think of that the IRS might have an incorrect account for you or incorrect bank account information for you, just double check. It's worth double checking, just so you don't have to deal with the delays of possibly getting mailed a check months down the road, so you can actually receive that payment right now. I've also received reports of people receiving that check back in 24 hours message on the payment tool, and then checking back in 24 hours and it's still saying that. I've yet to find a solution, but I'll definitely update you guys as soon as I find anything. I just want to acknowledge it because I've received about 10 or 15 notices of this. I'm looking into it and trying to see if there's anything that I can find on it. On paycheck protection news from covidloantracker.com, as of today, of the 16,000 businesses that were surveyed, 5.8% of them received funding from the Paycheck Protection Program. That's up from 4% yesterday. An interesting note here is 81% of those businesses who actually received funding from the Paycheck Protection Program had an existing relationship with the bank that they got a loan from. And a majority of these banks that have actually got funding to their clients are small and local banks. And that's exactly what I had suspected weeks ago on this channel, to go to small banks because they're not going to be inundated by nearly as many applications as those massive national banks. The national bank that has processed the most amount of applications and actually given funding is Chase Bank, believe it or not. They did have that online portal that was fairly easy to fill out, and they seem to be right on top of it with that, so I guess it's not super surprising. I've also now received, as of today, proof from 2 different businesses who have received funding through the Paycheck Protection Program, one being over $550,000, and I was told by that person that she applied the very first day. She literally went to her local bank with a stack of papers, printed out the application, every single piece of documentation she needed, and was there before the bank opened, waiting outside the doors to hand it to a banker. And she received funding yesterday. So that's pretty crazy. I applied on the first day. It was online. I didn't go that above and beyond, but the people who are receiving funding really seem to have gone above and beyond, at least this woman had. The funding for this program has been considered allocated, and they're saying there's no more funds yet. However, I suspect the fact that just over 5% of these businesses who have applied have received funding, there probably still is funding, and you might be part of that group. Even if you haven't been contacted yet, they might actually be processing your loan. So I lean more towards the positive side there, where if you put in your application early, I think there's still a decent chance that you'll get funding through the Paycheck Protection Program or the EIDL grant program. And that's all I have for today. Until next time, thanks for watching. Also, would you guys like if I did a stimulus check update on the weekend? I'm not sure how much news there's going to be, but I could do it if you guys want me to. Anyways, thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing again, and I hope you have a profitable day.